It's never too early to be thinking about some of the successes that could be happening for Tennessee football in 2023. On that note, who could be all conference players for Tennessee football this upcoming football season? Athlon Sports kind of put out theirs. We're going to react to it and give you some of my thoughts. All that and more here on your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome into it, your Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here today and hanging out with us. Shout out you everydayers for coming back. If you want to be an everydayer, well, come back to the show tomorrow and see what it's all about. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. I'm your host, Eric Kane. You can always find me on Twitter @_Kaner and @Locked On Vols. Got a fun show coming up. We'll get into that in just a moment. But as you can tell, if you're watching on YouTube, back on the road, it's like I'm living out of a suitcase here lately. And because of Tennessee's short stay in Hoover, means I'll be living out of a suitcase here in a couple of weeks as well. And we'll get into that here in just a moment. But I'm on the road. I'm in Hoover, Alabama. Tennessee dropped its opening game in the SEC tournament, meaning it goes home, and meaning I will go home. But I needed to shoot this podcast, so I wanted to come to the hotel room that I already paid for, and so that is why I've got my road kit out here today. But I've got a fun show coming up. Athlon Sports put out all conference selections for the SEC and for some other conferences, and we're going to react to it. You guys know I like to make fun of this type of stuff in the off season because. Again, we'll get into it in a moment, but Athlon Sports, they do great work over there, and they have all conference selections, preseason, I guess what you call them, for the 2023 season. Who from Tennessee's on those lists, and should there be any more? That's coming up here in segment number 1. In segment 2, I will talk about Tennessee's departure from Hoover in the SEC tournaments. I know a lot of you guys might not be tuning into this podcast to hear a little baseball. We're going to get a lot of baseball here on this show on a Wednesday. You guys know that I'm football, 100 emoji full speed every other day. But since I'm down here, it's fresh on the mind. We're going to talk a lot of baseball in segment 2. And then I'm going to play a recording that I have with Ryan Shumpert of Rocky Top Insider in segment number 3. So, Athlon Sports, let's go ahead and get into it. I had this sent to me, and Athlon Sports, they put out 2023, what they're calling is 2023 SEC football all-conference team. So, essentially, this is a preseason, type situation. Stephen Lassen, who does great stuff for Athlon Sports, he put it out. He put a disclaimer here. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it here for you before we get into who he selected. An important note to all the all-conference teams: these are based on how players will perform in 2023. Career statistics and awards matter in the evaluation, but choosing players for the 2023 all-conference team is largely based on predicting and projecting the best for the upcoming year. Also, team strength does not play a role in these selections. These are best individual players at each position in the league for the 2023 season. So right off the bat, they list 4 all-conference teams. You guys know I make fun of that all the time in preseason. The SEC will put out 3 all-conference teams. When you go and vote at SEC Media Days, whether it be in Hoover, Atlanta, it's in Nashville this year, you are voting for 4 different teams, which is just hilarious to me. By the time you get to the 4th team, you're like, okay, who is a returning cornerback in this league? Who is a returning defensive tackle in this league that I know that I can put down for the 4th team? So it just kind of is what it is. But I'm going to pose the question to you right off the bat. If I were to say Tennessee had X amount of all-conference players at the end of the 2023 season, who would they be? Okay? Are there any ones that just jump off the page? Well, if Tennessee is successful and Tennessee's offense is one of the top 10 in the country and all that, you would think that quarterback Joe Milton would be on that list. Okay, so a lot of that determines on the quarterback position the success of the team and the success of the offense. So I get that. Joe Milton might be a popular name. Is there anybody else that would just be jumping off the page? Maybe Bru McCoy, wide receiver. Maybe Cooper Mays on the offensive line. I'll tell you why that one's not a very good pick, but he's a returning starter, multi-year starter, and he's a guy that everybody knows, right? Maybe Javonte Spraggins on the offensive line, kind of in that same boat. What about defensively? Maybe Aaron Beasley at linebacker. Maybe Amari Thomas at defensive line. Nobody in the secondary. the point I'm trying to make is going into the 2022 season, you were like, all right, Hendon, Cedric Tillman, Jeremy Banks, maybe, Byron Young. Like you had a couple that you could already kind of rattle off the tongue, right? Same thing for Joe Milton with Hendon Hooker, quarterback of this offense, all that good stuff. Jeremy Banks, a linebacker, was coming off a 128 tackle season. Cedric Tillman was coming off a 1,000-yard receiving season and 12 touchdowns. So those were pretty easy. I don't think it's as easy this go around. That does not mean that Tennessee won't have all conference players. That does not mean that Tennessee will not be successul. Did anybody think Jalen Hyatt was going to be who Jalen Hyatt was this year? Did anybody think that Bayless Jones or Cedric Tillman, for that matter, were going to be Bayless Jones and Cedric Tillman in 2021? Did anybody envision, some of these Aaron Beasley stepping up and being one of the better defensive players for Tennessee this past season and leading Tennessee in tackles? But my point is, it's about development and getting them out there. So Athlon Sports puts out their top 4 teams, and I'm scrolling through here. I'm at first team offense. I don't see anybody from Tennessee on there. I'm at first team defense. I don't see anybody from Tennessee on there. And I'm just like, okay, well, is there any snubs? Okay, let's go to some of those positions. Quarterback. Who would be more deserving preseason to be an all-conference quarterback than Joe Milton? Well, off the top of my head, I would probably say Jaden Daniels. Based off how they're doing this here at Athlon Sports, maybe Devin Leary, maybe Spencer Rattler, maybe Will Rogers, maybe KJ Jefferson. That last name is the one that they put up there. KJ Jefferson, number 1 quarterback on the first team offense. Interesting. Okay. What about center? I mentioned center. Cedric Van Pran of Georgia. Well, I got news for you. He's been starting in Georgia for a long time. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the SEC. I'm okay with that one. What about wide receivers? Juice Wells of South Carolina, Evan Stewart at Texas A&M, Malik Neighbors at LSU. Malik Neighbors, I'm with you. I think he should be up there. Juice Wells, maybe. Evan Stewart should not be up there, in my opinion. So maybe Bru McCoy's got a conversation there. What about on defense? No Amari Thomas. No Aaron Beasley. Okay, I'm okay with that. I don't hate the fact that Tennessee's not represented on the first team all-conference preseason by Athlon Sports for offense or defense, okay? All right, well, let's scroll down here to the second team, okay? Shall we? Surely maybe Joe Milton gets some love for second team. Nope, it's Will Rogers. Well, okay, I mean, he's been a returning guy. He's thrown for a ton of yards in this conference. Okay, I understand that. What about wide receiver? There's Bru McCoy. Bru McCoy's listed as the 3rd wide receiver on this list. And I would take this trio of wide receivers over the first team trio of wide receivers, in my opinion. Lad McConkey of Georgia, Dominic Lovett of Georgia, of course, Dominic Lovett formerly of Missouri, and then Bru McCoy of Tennessee. What about the center position, since we're kind of talking about Bru McCoy, or since we're talking about Cooper Mays? Seth McLaughlin, Alabama. Not going to lie to you, I'm not too familiar with him. What about Javonte Spraggins? Again, he's going on his 3rd year starting. He's not listed here on the second team offensive line. What about defense? No Maury Thomas on the defensive line. No Aaron Beasley, a linebacker. And by the way, talking about wide receivers, according to Athlon Sports, their second team preseason All-SEC linebackers, Jet Johnson, Dallas Turner, J.J. Weaver, Small London. Those 4 linebackers, sign me up. I would take those every single day of the week. Okay, well, let's continue to move on down here. Let's go to third team. Surely to goodness, Jaden Daniels is going to be over here somewhere. There's Jaden Daniels, 3rd team quarterback. Okay. Your wide receivers here are Will Shepherd, Ja'Cory Brooks, and Barian Brown. Ja'Cory Brooks and Barian Brown, I get it. Will Shepherd, he's about all Vanderbilt has their wide receiver. Okay. Kendall Milton, the running back at Georgia. Okay, he's on that list. Michael Trick, the tight end of Ole Miss, he's on that list. Still no Javonte Spraggins. Still no Cooper Mays. Okay. Blast from the past, Amarius Mims, Georgia offensive lineman, he's on this list. Let's go to third team defense. Aaron Beasley does show up on third team defense at linebacker. Shamar James of Florida, Chris Paul Jr. of Arkansas, Omar Speights of LSU, and Aaron Beasley of Tennessee are your linebackers here on the third team. Let's go to the fourth team. Actually, let's go to specialists for the third team. That's where D. Williams comes in, third team preseason punt returner, according to Athlon Sports. All right, fourth team, no Joe Milton love. There's Spencer Rattler. So the quarterbacks I think KJ Jefferson, Will Rogers, Jaden Daniels, and then Spencer Rattler. Again, I say all the time, I got to see it week after week. I've got to see, you can put one game plan together, execute it, another game plan there, execute it, another game plan together and execute it. Don't, have a week to prepare for Vanderbilt and then a month to prepare for Vanderbilt with an all program rushing record there with you, and then have a month to prepare for Clemson. I'm not trying to take anything away from Joe Milton, but, maybe people need to see him week after week. I understand that. Let's go to third team. There's Cooper Mays at center, or fourth team, excuse me. There's Cooper Mays at center. There's Jalen Wright at running back. There's Squirrel White at wide receiver. Okay. On defense, there's Tyler Barron on the defensive line, fourth team defense. And there we go. Is there anybody else? Do you have any? I don't want to go through here and list all these different teams. I mean, there's 4 teams, for goodness sakes, right? That'd take forever. But I think the point I'm trying to get at here is it's not just a slam dunk. Though I may disagree with, who they selected for their preseason, first team, second team, third team, fourth team, shouldn't be any more than 2 teams. I put it right there. Third team and fourth team is just comical, right? But maybe I'll disagree with the placement and everything. But in terms of Tennessee players, I truly think that Bru McCoy deserves to be on there. And I think Javonte Spraggins deserves to be on there somewhere. Javonte Spraggins, again, he's about to be a 3-year starter in the Southeastern Conference. He blocked for a top 10 offense in 2021, and he blocked for the nation's #1 offense in 2022. I think Javonte Spraggins deserves a little bit more love than that. I think Tennessee's running back room, top to bottom, one of the best in the SEC, but there's not a superstar in that group. Jalen Wright could be potentially, but again, he hadn't done enough to warrant, in my opinion, to be on this list. And I think the way Tennessee goes about it, they go, running back by committee a lot of the time. So could Jalen Wright lead Tennessee in rushing? He absolutely could. Could he lead Tennessee in rushes? He absolutely could. Jamari Small is going to play. Dylan Sampson's going to play as well. I think Amari Thomas deserved to be on this list somewhere. I truly do. Squirrel White, okay, cool. A little 14 nod, that's fine. D. Williams, third team punt returner. Okay, that's neat. Beasley represented linebacker, third team. That's okay. Tyler Barron on the defensive line, I would have had Amari Thomas. But my point is, it's not super easy. I don't think, a lot of times we like to just get upset. We like to take offense to everything, and that's fair. But I think in this circumstance, Tennessee lost a lot. So they're going to have to get out there and prove it every single week. And I do believe that Tennessee will have multiple representatives on the first team All-SEC, on the second team All-SEC. But, they got to go out there and prove it. So I don't completely hate Athlon Sports' all-conference, all-SEC preseason right now. But I think Tennessee's just kind of in a position where you got to go out and prove it. If you want to see the full list of Athlon Sports preseason all-SEC, just Google it. Stephen Lassen's got it out there. He put it out a couple of days ago. Really, really good stuff. I'll try to link it in the show notes as well. Coming up next, a little baseball talk. If you're not a baseball fan, if you haven't followed along with Tennessee baseball, I encourage you to stick around, learn a little bit. We'll talk a little baseball here, and then we'll get back into football tomorrow. We got some baseball talk coming up next right here on Locked On Vols, and a new proud sponsor, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network and a part of Locked On Vols. And I'm really excited about it because it is our friends Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, they are a really, really comfortable clothing for men, for women, fit, comfort, versatility. Okay, those are the 3 aspects that you need to know about Bird Dog apparel. Look better because the fit is perfect to my body, and my body's different from your body, right? Comfort, stretchy, expandable. You can do lunges, deep lunges in these things, and they're going to be comfortable for you. And the versatility, okay? I can go out to a meeting wearing some Bird Dog shorts. I can go on a date with my wife wearing Bird Dog shorts. I can, go out and pass, throw football in the yard with Bird Dog shorts. You have endless possibilities, and they can be used for different social settings. All right, so you guys know I'm in Hoover, Alabama this week, okay? I thought Tennessee was going to last a little bit longer into the week, but ultimately they were one and done on Tuesday. Didn't get a chance to whip out the Bird Dogs in Hoover this week, but I packed them. They're in the bag over there, and I was going to wear them to the Hoover Met this week. You know why? Because I was going to be there for long hours, long days. It was going to be hot. It was going to be kind of a formal setting, right? Because I'm in a press box. But the comforts and the style, it was perfect for that occasion. So I was going to wear them in Hoover, Alabama. I've got them in the bag. I'm going to turn around, put them on tomorrow when I drive home. You guys should try it out too. Bird Dogs is fantastic. I really encourage you guys to go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. That is birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. And when you enter the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. I got mine the other day. I had it in the car full of coffee driving down to Hoover early on a Monday morning or Tuesday morning. Again, www.birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. Enter the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. They're going to throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every single order. Fit, comfort, versatility. Find your match at birddogs.com. All right, guys, welcome back into it. Your Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys being here with us. Shout out you everydayers. Thanks so much for coming back, supporting the show on YouTube by subscribing. Locked On Vols on YouTube channel, wherever you get your listening podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you guys want to listen, you got it there. Sign up, subscribe, follow, get that automatic download on YouTube. Go ahead and hit that notification bar so you are notified every single time an episode drops. I really, really do appreciate the work. All right, you guys know me. I am at home when I'm in my home studio. I'm feeling it. I'm comfortable and all that. When I'm on the road, I've got my laptop. I got a webcam that's just kind of teetering there, and that's why you see some of the shakes here, and I apologize. I've got my mic here that's in kind of in a different type of setup. I'm not comfortable outside of my office, but such is life on the road here. And I'm on the road because I'm down in Hoover, Alabama. I'm in my my hotel room here. You guys know I recorded the night before, and I drove up to the 4 Points by Sheridan, and they said, Mr. Kane, this is your lucky night. And I said, is it really? They said, we're going to put you in a suite. So I don't know if you can see behind me, but behind me, this is a living room situation, and then back through that back wall that I'm looking at, the bedroom. Wish I was staying here all week, but ultimately Tennessee was one and done. So let's talk about that for a minute. What's this mean? I'll get to the game here in just a moment, but essentially, Tennessee's still going to the regionals. Tennessee, the way they finished the regular season, capping off 15 of the last 19 games, 11 of the last 15 SEC games, winning all those. Picking up win number 16 in Southeastern Conference last week at South Carolina. You have punched your ticket. You are going to the postseason, all right? No ifs, ands, and buts about it. You are likely going to be a 2 seed. This week was big because Tennessee had an outside looking in chance at hosting a regional. Getting to that 16-win mark in the Southeastern Conference, usually good, sure. But you need to kind of get some wins in Hoover because your road record's been so bad and your RPI is not as high as some of those other teams who are on the national seed line right now. So I thought going into the week, if Tennessee were to win 2 games, right? And I gotta be honest with you right now, I'm recording during the middle of these games right now. But if Alabama lost and Auburn lost, then I thought Tennessee would have a pretty decent chance, as long as you win 2 games, of hosting a regional. Other things need to happen. Sure, what's going on elsewhere? How many teams from the Southeastern Conference is the committee going to allow to host? All that goes into it. But I thought if you win 2 games, you'd be in pretty good position. Well, Tennessee went 1 and done, and so pretty much it's almost solidified that Tennessee's going to be on the road in regional play. According to D1 Baseball's Field of 64 projections, Tennessee has been projected to go to Clemson 3 weeks ago, Morgantown 2 weeks ago. Here recently, they were projected to go to Miami. All those regions, Tennessee would be the 2 seed. And so, sure, you're not hosting, and that's unfortunate, but it's a pretty dangerous 2 seed. I don't think anybody would want Tennessee to be in their region as a 2 seed, that's for sure. You still have all the ingredients to win a regional. However, you're not playing well away from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. It took you to the last series of the regular season to pick up a road series win. That was in South Carolina just a couple of days ago. Obviously, you didn't play up to your best offensively in Hoover, being 1 and done against Texas A&M. So there's some concern there about playing away from home. But what we know now, since Tennessee lost to Texas A&M in the opening round of the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament, if I ever stood over Southeastern Conference, it's because at Carson Newman we played in the South Atlantic Conference, so sometimes I get those a little mixed up. But if you ever notice that, but what we know about that is Tennessee going 1 and done. Tennessee's likely not going to be hosting a region. So What happened on Tuesday? Well, if you're unfamiliar with the format of the Southeastern Conference Baseball Tournament, it is single elimination, double elimination, and then once you get to the semis, it's back to single elimination. The winner of Tennessee, the 7 seed, and Texas A&M, the 10 seed, on Tuesday, the winner would go on to play Arkansas, the next morning, and the loser would go home. And Tennessee's that loser, so it's done. It made a short trip over to Hoover, now heading back to Knoxville. What happened in this baseball game? Well, a lot happened. If you guys are members of VolQuest.com at the general quarters, if you guys hang out with me and catch up with me on the GQ and follow along with the game threads, there were some people giving me a little hard time every now and again. A couple people tweeted at me as well, and it's because the starting pitcher for Texas A&M on Tuesday was by the name of Troy Wansing, I believe is how you say his name. He was 2-2 on the season, or 2-3 on the season, and he entered the game with a 5.98 ERA. Guys, that's bad. In fact, that's horrible. 11 starts on the season entering the day, entered with a 5.98 ERA, and he had already pitched one time against Tennessee. Got roughed up, gave up 4 runs off 4 hits, and an inning and a third and a start back when Tennessee swept Texas A&M in Knoxville back in late March. So I made the comment people were asking me in the Monday night chat and all that, like, hey, what do you think about Tennessee and Hoover? What do you think about Tennessee tomorrow? I was like, I think Tennessee will win this game because Texas A&M's pitching's been so bad, and the guy they're throwing tomorrow, because, again, he didn't make a weekend start because he lost a weekend role, but because those guys were pitching for their lives, and just like Tennessee, you're 1, 2, and 3 pitched on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You're not ready to go by Tuesday. And so they had to turn to Wansing, and, I just thought because of that reason, I thought Tennessee would win this game. Now, nothing was ever guaranteed. That's not how things work. That's not how baseball works. But on Tuesday, boy, that starting pitcher for Texas A&M, he was the star. Again, I can't reiterate this enough. A 5.98 ERA entering Tuesday's game. Okay? He did not allow a base runner until 1 out in the bottom of the 6th inning, meaning his first 16 batters faced in this game, he was perfect. Christian Scott, single to right field. Might have been center field. I don't remember. It was the one hit of the game, and that happened a long time ago. That broke up the perfect game. That was the only base runner Tennessee had on all game long. Just awful. Wansing is not a very good pitcher. He was elite on Tuesday. Tennessee helped him out a little bit. Sure. You have a breaking ball coming from the left side, a slider coming from the left side. Tennessee struggles with that, and he was superb. He went. There was a rain delay in the top of the 9th inning, so because of that 2 hour and 5 minute rain delay, he didn't come back out to pitch and to do the complete game, but he likely would have. He goes 8 innings, 1 hit, 7 strikeouts, no walks on 95 pitches. He was really good. Tennessee just couldn't hit him. Just couldn't hit him at all. Conversely, Tennessee, again, because Andrew Lindsey was used and because Chase Doleander was used and because Drew Beam was used, they had to go bullpen. But you had a guy like Seth Halverson, who's been one of your best relievers all year. Sure, he had a rough patch towards the end of the year, but been one of your best relievers this year. And he's a former number 1 starter for Missouri a couple years ago. That's pretty nice little chip to pull here towards the SEC tournament. He starts the game. I thought he pitched pretty well. Too many free passes. He goes 4 innings. 4 innings, 2 runs, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks on 83 pitches. He had 3 walks, 2 walks came back to bite him, a balk came back to bite him, but I thought overall he was pretty sharp, in my opinion. But Tennessee just had no offense. Had no offense whatsoever. Again, the only hit Tennessee accounted for in the day was Christian Scott, 1 for 3. Maui, 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. You had Hunter Inslee, 0 for 3. Jared Dickey, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Griffin Merritt, 0 for 3. Christian Moore, 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. Zane Denton, Blake Burke, Christian Scott, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 1 for 3. All 3 of those guys, or the first 2 guys, Zane Denton and Blake Burke, had a strikeout. Cal Stark, 0 for 3, had a strikeout. So it just kind of was what it was. It was not Tennessee's day, and that is unfortunate. But that is how the cookie crumbled for the University of Tennessee on Tuesday in Hoover. Just not a good offensive day whatsoever. And it was a pitcher that, again, has not pitched well. Now, I think he's got good stuff, and he's pitched well in this league before. But, it's literal fact. He's not having a good year. It's literally, it's a fact. It's called a stat sheet. It's called a PDF. Go look it up. It's literally fact that the guy has not had a good year, but he was elite on Tuesday. It's unfortunate because it was against Tennessee. So Tennessee is out, and Tennessee will go back to Knoxville. Good reason, or good maybe silver lining, if you will. Tennessee will have a week and a couple of days to get ready, to rest, and they'll watch the rest of the conference tournament from the house. Selection Mondays coming up on Monday. Tennessee will see its draw in the NCAA regionals, and either they'll be in action Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, likely away from Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and I will be there. So if you guys want more coverage of that, you know where to follow me @_Canner, Locked On Vols, and right here on the show, Locked On Vols. Hey, I had a chance to catch up with Ryan Shumpert during the rain delay. Not going to lie, we knocked that out during the rain delay. Knew it was going to be a long day. So RTI, Rocky Top Insiders, Ryan Shumpert. He's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols.
Here with Ryan Shumpert, Rocky Top Insider, here in Hoover as Tennessee falls to Texas A&M in the opening round. It's a short trip to Hoover as Tennessee will now head back to Knoxville and await their postseason draw on Selection Monday. A little less than ideal, Ryan, but at the end of the day, sure, there were some hosting implications on this week. Sure, you'd like to defend your title. It's disappointing. I'm not going to act like it's not, but the important thing is what's happening in, I guess, week after next.
Oh, 100%. And, we talked about it on our Rocky Top Insider podcast. SEC Tournament is a super fun event. It is very cool to see all the fan bases, a lot of competitive games frequently, but it's not really a great indicator of what's going to happen the weeks following in the NCAA Tournament. We saw that last year when Ole Miss went one and done here in Hoover and went on to win a national championship. 2 years ago, Mississippi State gets run rolled in their 2 games and goes on to win a national championship. So everything Tennessee wants to do, they're still capable of doing it, still out in front of them. But you hit the nail on the head. It's going to have to be on the road and almost certainly not hosting after, like you said, a quick trip down to Hoover.
So Troy Wainsing, I believe is how you say his name, for Texas A&M. Tennessee saw him earlier this year. In an inning and a third, Tennessee had 4 hits, 4 runs, and chased him from the ballgame. He entered Tuesday with a 5.98 ERA. He is not having a good year. However, baseball will do that to you sometimes. He looked like Tom Glavine out there. I mean, the jokes were going on all afternoon at Tennessee's expense. If not for a rain delay, he would have went the complete 9 shutout. I mean, he was really good. What was he doing that was so effective against Tennessee?
Well, I think, one, he was just throwing it in the strike zone, and Tennessee, he was going to make Tennessee beat them. I mean, Tennessee didn't work a lot of long, competitive at-bats, but you're not really going to do that when the pitcher throws a lot of strikes, and that's exactly what Wansing did. And some hard contact, certainly some bad luck for Tennessee. I can think of 3 hard lineouts just right at shortstop or third baseman. Cal Stark hit a ball out the center, and it would have been a 2-run home run at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. But Wansing was really good, and, it was kind of a curious decision for Schlossnagle to go with him, just because it's such a crucial game for them. They were able to play on Thursday to start their last series, and obviously you mentioned that Tennessee rocked them back in Knoxville, but this is kind of the type of pitcher that's given Tennessee issues all season. You go back to Jarvis Evans at Georgia, who came in after 2 pitches, had 6 or 7 innings on the season and really dominated Tennessee. And there's Tennessee Tech, I think, had a guy at the bullpen that did that. There's been a handful of soft throwing lefty relievers that stats don't look great that have been really effective against Tennessee and what is certainly a lefty hitting heavy lineup.
One of those power hitters from the left side is Blake Burke. SEC play's not been his best time of the year this year. At least he got moved down to the 7th spot in the order. For Blake Burke, obviously Tennessee needs him to be swinging well. It feels like right now he's just struggling. You don't really know what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah, I think that's the nice way to put it, saying you don't know what you're going to get out of him. It feels like you know what you're going to get out of him, and it's not much production. And certainly I think it's gotten worse in these recent weeks, but really it's been all of SEC play. I mean, entering today, he was hitting .211 in conference play, just 6 extra base hits, so he hasn't been overly productive. It felt like the move to the back of the lineup was well overdue. I will say he's one of those guys who had a competitive at-bat and hit the ball hard in and out today, but a handful of uncompetitive at-bats too. So there was some more good, or a little bit of good, but still, plenty of struggles. And certainly I think if you're looking at what guy Tennessee could get going that could really change the outlook of the offense going into the postseason, it's probably him because the talent's certainly there.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that, arguably, earlier in the year in non-conference, he was Tennessee's best player. I mean, he looked phenomenal, and he's got that swing. He's got the strength. He's got the hand speed, all that type of stuff. So if it can click for him, then he can be Tennessee's best player again. But right now, that's Jared Dickey, Tennessee's lone all-conference player. Were you shocked? I guess I really wasn't. I didn't think any starter would get it. I didn't think anybody. So I guess Jared Dickey getting all-conference second team, I'm not shocked that he was the only one.
No, I wasn't. To me, the only guy I kind of eyed was Chase Burns coming out of the bullpen. But then you look at it, he only did that half the season. He didn't pitch at the Georgia series, and obviously it definitely wasn't going to happen after he struggled against South Carolina on Saturday at the end of the season. So he was kind of the only other guy that I think had even any bit of a case, and really then by the time the regular season came to a close, he really didn't have much of one.
Seth Halverson got the spot start for Tennessee as we shift back to Tuesday's game. Thought he looked okay. The free passes were a little alarming to me. He walked 3, struck out 6 in 4 innings, gave up 2 runs, worked himself out of a couple of jams. A couple of times, a ball came back to haunt him one time in some of those free passes. Seth Halverson's a guy that was really good early on. He was kind of shaky there in the middle part of SEC play. He's been better lately. But for Tennessee to go on and accomplish what it needs to, he and Halverson and Camden Sewell both, along with Chase Burns, going to have to be big for Tennessee out of the pen.
Yeah, to me it feels like Halverson's trending up. Maybe not currently right at this way he was earlier in the season when he was really effective and probably Tennessee's best bullpen arm the first 6 weeks of the season. But yeah, I thought he was pretty solid today. Not great environment or conditions to pitch in. Second inning when he came out there, it kind of started raining hard. So he gives up, I think it was 3 walks in 4 innings. Not what you want to see, not great, but he did a pretty good job of working around it. Even in the walks, it wasn't a lot of 4 or 5 pitch walks. So it was a lot of competitive at-bats that I think Texas A&M deserves some credit for drawing the walks as well. So he was solid. He wasn't perfect. Those 2 earned runs, Texas A&M did a good job of playing some small ball moving runners. But Halverson plenty good for Tennessee to win on Tuesday at the tournament, and certainly the blame doesn't fall on him.
Yeah, a whole lot of no-shows on offense, and so we'll shut the door on this. Hoover, quick trip. Tennessee loses. Tennessee did not look inspired on offense. It was not a good day, but Tennessee is going to the postseason. Tennessee closed the regular season strong. Starting pitching last weekend was incredible. You were on hand to watch that in South Carolina. What you saw from Andrew Lindsey, from Chase Dolan, or from Drew Beam, it's got to be encouraging heading into postseason.
Yeah, it really is. And Lindsey, he's been kind of a rock for Tennessee in the rotation. And certainly he hadn't been that good at any point this season, but you feel like you know what you're getting from him just about every time out. And it feels like that floor is pretty high right now for him in a bad start. Dolander, to me, that was the most positive of all of them because he was just so dominant. I mean, He was Chase Dolander of 2022 against South Carolina. And when you look at it, he's kind of been like that, where he's slowly been getting better and better. The Mississippi State start when he had a fever was kind of the one that didn't follow that trend there in the middle of conference play. But besides that, he'd had a lot of good starts and a lot of starts that felt like he was better than the numbers indicated, which was kind of the same thing at South Carolina. So I think you have to feel really good about him. And then Drew Beam is the one that I don't know how you feel about him, but certainly it felt like he was pitching for his postseason role or the final game of the series on Saturday afternoon against South Carolina, and he pitched really well. So you assume he's going to be in there again. What to expect from him, I think, is kind of hard to say. There's been a lot of inconsistencies.
At least you feel better about him now than you did a week ago. So that's something to build on.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it goes from you still think Drew Beam's going to be a guy, you're going to be one of your main starters in the postseason, whereas if he had another bad start, you were almost testing Seth Halverson today or someone like that where you're trying to figure out all of a sudden who's going to be your third starter with a guy that most likely, unless it would have been Chase Burns, wouldn't have had a ton of starts.
All right, last thing. So, we'll see. We're recording this right after the Tennessee game. It's game 2 in Hoover. There are a lot more games this week that'll happen. 2 very important games later on Tuesday night we'll have to be paying attention to. But it looks and feels like Tennessee kind of lost its chance to host. And so going to be on the road likely. We'll have to wait until Selection Monday to see where they're going to go. D1 baseball projections earlier this week had them going to Miami, so we'll have to see about that. But anyway, going on the road, how worrisome is that? Tennessee did pick up its first win on the road in the regular season finale at South Carolina, which was good, but it's a team that's not been great on the road and, of course, was a no-show here in Hoover.
No, they haven't been very good on the road, and I would just say I think when you look at the back half of SEC play, and it's been true the whole season, but the back half of SEC play, Tennessee was really good. The one flaw, question mark that still stood out pretty heavily is just the offense was very inconsistent away from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. There have been some really good performances, 10-run performances at South Carolina, at Georgia, but a lot of clunkers mixed in there as well, and certainly I think the worst clunker of the bunch today.
Ryan, appreciate it, man. You got a lot of stuff over at RTI, Tennessee baseball and Tennessee everything, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, plenty of stuff on Tennessee baseball. Had a feature on A.J. Russell come out this morning, so go check that out. He got a little bit of run, looked good this afternoon. I think is one of those guys it's probably Tennessee's going to lean on a little more heavily in the postseason than they have in the regular season.
Really great stuff there from Ryan Shumpert. Appreciate him taking the time and talking a little Tennessee baseball with me, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in and taking part of Locked On Vols. We'll get back into heavy football content tomorrow. I'll be getting back in town. Hope you guys enjoyed the all-conference discussion with Athlon Sports putting that out there. Who do you believe will be an all-conference football player for Tennessee in 2023? If you got any baseball questions for me, let me know. I cover baseball at VolQuest.com. I'm at every single game, and I've written probably over 150, maybe 200 articles on baseball this year. So if you guys have a question, we can talk about that. But as always, we're the number one place to find Tennessee football content every single day. That is Locked On Vols. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate you guys. Shout out everydayers. Please subscribe, follow us, Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel, anywhere you get your podcast. And thanks so much, as always, for making Locked On Vols your first listen. We'll see you again tomorrow, guys. Appreciate you.